right now, so I feel good. And did it really go live? It says we're live.
Is it live? Is it live? It's live.
Oh gosh, it's just a slow connection. It says it's live, but I can't see the picture. So it says excellent connection. Error in account, please try again. Okay, let's just it says we're live. It says we are live.
It says live on my end.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. All right, well, we're just gonna go for it. Inside a Brown Dog Coffee Shop in Salida, Colorado. So there might be some momentary interruptions every now and again, but we're going to do our best and we're going to adjust. So I'm Udarro, psychic empath, psychic wrangler, and celestial medium. So welcome to Third Eye Salon, where we drop the veils of illusion in order to take a deep, fresh look into reality. And today is no different. We're looking between the veils of actually the bufo, God help me not say tofu, the bufo toad medicine with yours truly, in my experience yesterday, with the co-founder of Sacred Journeys. Am I still there?
You're here.
Oh, it froze. Okay. God, love a child, please channel the energy well. Co-founder of Sacred Journeys within a nonprofit, Sacred Journeys within a nonprofit plant medicine church. And he's also an author, Drew Bankey. He's got 2 or 3 books out now. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming out and visiting me yesterday and surrendering to the medicine. And
then frozen again.
Up again.
Look at the universe. Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question.
Sure, go for it.
While he's not here. So he was mentioning that it's a plant medicine church. Is that how? Because one of my questions was going to be, how do you get around? Like, is that something that's legal where you're at? Like, how do you get? I guess my co-host thing didn't work, but still going to ask the question. How do you get around, say, the legality of working with something that could be classified as a drug?
Well, the Religious Freedom Act supersedes any scheduling on narcotics or anything. So basically, in 2020, we lost, I think it's February 2020, we lost 2 kilograms of ayahuasca to the border, to customs. And that sparked us into first asking how we could get back our medicine, if we could get back our medicine. We started talking to some lawyers about how to get back that medicine particularly. And, that was kind of outside the realm of possibility of getting that medicine back. But what it did was spark our church to become legalized. So
nice.
We insulated it. Our lawyers insulated it in the Religious Freedom Act. So that's what we run off of. And that's what, if you see any churches, ayahuasca churches, things like that, standing up in the United States, that's mostly what they're going off of, or they're going off of DEA exemptions. But you're talking about 7, maybe 8 figures to go down that road. So it's there's 2 different routes. The DEA exemption is without the Religious Freedom Act part of it involved, and the Religious Freedom Act is much more that people are working on for in pretty much every state now. So
nice. Welcome back, Kat.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for just picking up the ball and going. That was great. And I want to also introduce Jason, though, because you probably didn't introduce yourself. So this is the magical bitch, Jason Adkins, psychic medium and channeler of your ET connections. And he channeled one of mine, and it was just, it's been healing. I look at it and heal. So Jason, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for being my co-host today and helping me stabilize the show with your stable internet connection. I appreciate you.
Trying, yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, well, so we're gonna take care of just a little bit of business, and then we're gonna hop into it. So also, if you're watching this, we just want you to hit the thumbs up button if you're excited about this conversation. If you're excited about learning about frog medicine, or rather, no, toad medicine. That was my confusion. We'll talk about that too. We're going to talk about toad medicine. And if that conversation excites you, and being able to connect with oneness through an animal that God gave us right next to us. I mean, amazing that these tools are right next to us, and yet they're outlawed. So if you're excited about that conversation, give us a thumbs up. We have all of our links down below. All of Mr. Mann's links should be down there. If not, I'll double check and make sure they're in there. Mr. Mann being Drew, and Jason's and mine. And also, if you want to donate to the show, we really appreciate that. We super support we support your support. We appreciate your support, and we embrace it. So thank you so much. And we have a Facebook group that we'd love you to dive in and join us there. We have amazing conversations. People tell first-time experiences there that they've never shared anywhere else before, because they feel safe there. So it is this very special community. All right then. So now we're gonna do this kind of a two-parter, because I definitely want Drew to speak to his property, the projects going on, the opportunities that are happening there. And I also, obviously, we're going to talk about bufo. God help me not say tofu. And also what Cambo is, and my confusion. So yeah, yesterday's journey started with me going to Blanca from Salida, and I knew that I had looked at this. I knew it was an hour 40, but I changed it in my mind to an hour. I magically, for my own convenience, I imagined I had changed it to an hour. And so then that put a whole different spin on everything that was happening, and the show didn't happen yesterday, which I think is perfect, because we get to do this now. And but this theme of creating a reality that isn't there is something that I'm going to touch into again, time and again today, because I think it speaks to all of our liberation and being able to work with this medicine that is going to connect you back into source so easily, so naturally. And why do we resist source? Why do we resist love? Why do we resist forgiveness? Why do we resist coming into connection with our heart? So but I'd like for you, Mr. Drew, to break down tell us the difference between, also, Cambo is a frog, it's not a toad. So if you would delineate, that's my other confusion. I came in being like, I'm going to do Cambo. No, you're doing bufo. So it was another reality I created. I knew that it was going to be bufo. I looked at it, I signed up for it, and then I changed it to Cambo again. In my mind, I changed it. So, sir, would you talk to us about these medicines and tell us what they do for us?
Yeah. First, I do have my own podcast. So if you're interested in seeing any of my content, check me over at Eagle's Nest Podcast over on YouTube. Tons of great content over there. ETs, plant medicine, all types of stuff. I've had a lot of cool guests on there, so check them out if you're interested in that. But okay, so bufo and Cambo are two very similar but vastly different animals, and there's definitely vastly different medicines that work on different things. The Cambo comes from a frog, and that frog the medicine is taken from behind its ears. It has major glands behind its ears. It has other glands throughout its body, but its major glands are right behind its ears, where the medicine's collected. The Bufalivarius toad it secretes its medicine from the same area. So those are the ways that they are similar. They both secrete the medicine that we use in ceremony from major glands behind their ears. The Cambo is non-psychoactive. It's cleansing. It's mainly to cleanse out the body, mind, body, spirit, but you're not gonna really have any visual space or anything like that. It's more just about the cleanse. The Bufalivarius, the Colorado river toad, secretes the 5-MeO dimethyltryptamine through its pituitary glands behind its ears. So that's it actually looks very similar. The Cambo and the bufo, when it's extracted, it looks very similar. But the bufo will put you into a trance state. It will raise your vibration really past what your normal operating vibration is, and allow you to basically disassociate with your body and associate with the universe full on, and have cat, or have the participant or whoever it is really even secondary or totally disassociated in the ceremony. And that's a very powerful thing to happen. It's I was telling you yesterday that this medicine recreated a moment that I had in 2018. I had this without medicine. I had a oneness moment where I basically went to the throne room, or took on Source's identity for a moment, thinking I was going to fix everything. And that's where the first book come from, the I'm perfect and so are you. Like I had massive realizations in that short time, that everything was perfect. Divinity is the truth. And the bufo really shows that to people. And then they might not expect how deep it is or how far it goes, but you experienced it yesterday. It's just one or two breaths after that hit, and everything just fades away. Anxiety fades away. Your thoughts of worrying about getting lost, come making the wrong turns coming here, or whatever happened, like all that shit fades away, like just like that. And I think society needs that. I think we as people, as humans, we need this right now. We need that moment. We need a moment of breath.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, in my experience of it, it wasn't that everything faded away. It was more that like everything became clear. I want to talk about it in more detail, but like I had such a fear around going into this, and it was so clarifying. It was like I felt a continuation, and I felt that thing of like I'm not my body, I am my body. I'm it's that thing of like you do feel the oneness. I was like kinesthetically experiencing the oneness in a very subtle but total way. I don't know how to say that. So it's like I still had my wherewithal, but I knew that I was like in this much higher vibratory field. It's the same field that I go to when I do my work with the celestials and channeling celestial energy, but it was total, as opposed to this vein or that vein. It was the totality, but it wasn't overwhelming. Like I thought I was gonna, I had this concern that I was gonna be overwhelmed with sensory perception issues and just be like I just had all this stuff I had created in my head. And it wasn't that. It was just like the higher level of the journey I've been taking, but more complete. Like I could see things, I knew things, but not in an overwhelming way, in a way that really included me. So for me, it was just like, oh my God, I've been resisting this, and I would do this every day because it's so clarifying. It's just like, oh, I get it now. I see it now. It makes sense now. And it doesn't feel like I'm being overwhelmed. It doesn't feel like I'm being anything negative is happening to me. I'm just in the oneness,
Yeah. No, it's like a hug from God. There's 100 different ways to describe it, but a hug from God, that's a lot of people refer to it like that. But it's like I said, these moments of clarity, I think this is why this medicine is becoming more and more popular right now. Every day there's another celebrity that's done it, that's coming out and talking about it, how it's changed their lives or whatever. But I think this is the reason why it's coming out in these times, is because we need it in these times. We're going through an evolutionary shift in humanity, and
Yes.
people are trying to figure out what the world's going to look like, this and that. What if the world looks the same way it does now, but only your perception changes? People are wanting a solar flare or this or that, or they need to understand, like, this is the work. Ram Dass said it best, like the real work is your inner heart.
And that's so on point, because it's like, you want to experience a solar flare, this big boost of energy from the source, but not have done your own work first. Oops,
Yeah.
like that's not going to be very fun. And that is the thing that I brought in yesterday to this, was like, I'm going to be taking care of my dad in the very near future. He's, his health is continuing to diminish. And I have this, wound with him, or I had this wound. It's really in changing, it's transforming right now. But this lifelong wound that I was like, this is the thing that has destroyed me over and over again inadvertently, and we need to put it on the table, and this is what I'm bringing in. I just want to have love for my father. I want to have love for my family. I want love, like I just want to give all the love that the universe has and stick it right into my family. And that was, my intention of coming into it. So yeah, as I start to experience it, it was like all of this parallel between fear of surrender, of being with my dad, and fear of surrender to the bufo, and fear of surrender to life. All of this. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna hop back a little bit and just talk a bit about where we were, Drew. Maybe you can reflect your experiences of this as well, because I definitely want to have your teachings along the way. Because I came in, like with this fear of the medicine, and even before we did the one small dose, I was like, Drew, what's going to happen? I'm going to lose my mind, and we did that one small dose. And for me, it was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. You're here for a reason. You're just do it. So I did that. And then for me, it was like the best, cleanest cannabis I've ever smoked is what it was like. It was so clear. It was just like, and it felt very calm, and it didn't feel anything like, again, I was like, oh, well, it's the next dose that's going to fuck me up. Like, that was my perception. It's like, it's going to be the big dose where I'm going to like be flipping on the floor and, who knows what. What was your experience of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's always, it's a common response, but the result is always the same afterwards. It's not, that's why I tell people it's not as bad. Like, your anxiety is only until you take the hit. After that, your anxiety is gone. Like, you're not really worrying about it. And I don't have any anxiety in it because, I push the boundaries with this medicine. I've done a lot more than what I serve in ceremony, and I know that I'm fine. So I know where the threshold is, like, just from doing it, what, for my own personal experience, and also serving other people and see how they react and everything. So there was no worry on my side at all. That's why you come and you're like, oh, you're really calm. I was like, yeah, I'm really, because I know what you're about to see, and I know how it's going to be afterwards. I know how you are now because I can feel your energy now. Like, but I know just as soon as you sat down, and that's why, especially with people that are nervous or first times, I will offer a small hit at first, just to take away the anxiety just a little bit. And then they
I
get to
think
see
that's so
how it
smart
is.
to do
It's
that.
not, yeah, because, it's not about, yeah, I'm maybe using a little bit more medicine per person than what I would be if I was just given one dose. But I'm it's not about that amount of medicine. It's about like what you're gonna get out of it. Like, when people come to me, I don't want, it's not about the money, as the donations or any of that. It's about, like, my payment is seeing you look at me at the end and be like, holy shit, I'm really, this is really helping me in this area. This is really helping me in this area, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Jason, do you want to come in with any thoughts or questions at this
Well,
juncture?
yeah, I do have a question, and I'll say this also. I've experienced DMT before. So like when Kat talks about the fear, like I get that because I was super excited, right? Like I was like, this is going to be amazing. But then in the moment of taking it, I wasn't prepared for that. I swear to God, I felt like I was being thrown out of my body. But I know that I also stopped myself. Like I didn't allow myself to really fully 100% just go, because I had this fear, like this immediate paranoia, because when I had done it earlier in the day, the person that introduced me to it, they were my safety net. So now I'm doing it by myself. And it was this whole totally, like, I primed the pump during the day, and that last one before bed just sent me somewhere. So I understand the fear aspect of it, right? Like the panic. That's what it was. It was like an immediate panic attack of, oh my God, what's happening? But then I was also rational enough to be like, okay, calm down. And then other people that were there, right, were like, calm down, Jason, you're okay, calm down. But I do have a question. Since this is coming from an animal, how are they? I'm trying to think of the words that I want to use. When it comes to the conservation of the animal, because you see stories of other, in other places, toads that can kind of do the same thing, and people are hunting them to extinction, right?
Yeah.
So how do we do this work and still ensure that we are keeping the population healthy so that others can continue to have these experiences?
I know it's early on in the conversation, but this is probably one of my favorite questions, honestly, of this whole interview, because without these toads, without these frogs, and you're right, there are some people that are harvesting this medicine in not a sacred way, and not in a way that's really honoring the toad or frog, whether we're speaking about combo or bufo. This particular medicine that I used, that we used yesterday, and that we use in our church, comes from a sanctuary down in the Sonoran Desert, and they have around 5 to 10,000 frogs. I don't know. There's the population is constantly growing down there, but they have a few acres that are as dedicated to just a sanctuary. They also collect the medicine off these toads, and it's done in a way that doesn't harm. It actually makes the toad healthier, and it actually proper harvesting of these medicines can prolong the life of a toad past what it would normally have, just because it's flushing its system, and it's allowing it to be healthier. And these toads in the sanctuary are very, very happy. And there's a lot of medicine that gets distributed throughout the United States, Mexico, and throughout the world, really, from this sanctuary. But this sanctuary is the only sanctuary that's actually sanctioned by a federal government. So the Mexican government has sanctioned this sanctuary in the Sonoran Desert for the preservation of the bufo various toad, the Colorado River toad, and 5-MeO-DMT. So that's the story behind that. And then where we get combo, where we source our combo from, we make sure that the medicine is extracted and comes from a healthy vibration. One of the common misconceptions that you have to kill these toads or frogs to collect this medicine is totally false. And it's one of the other ones is actually that people say it hurts the frog or this, that, and the other. It doesn't really. It's both the pituitary glands on the frog and the toad, both for combo and bufo various, they it's to protect them against other animals when they come to bite them or anything. It'll mess them up. It's basically a venom in a way. But when used properly, we use as medicine. The combo is older. It's a few years old, a few hundred years old. The ceremony, the bufo various is reasonably young. There's some tribes that take credit down in Mexico, but really there's been really no hardcore evidence of what exactly tribe they connect back to. So it was first found back in the 30s or 40s, I think, by a scientist, and I can't remember the whole history behind it, but yeah, it's fairly new, the ceremony and the medicine and everything. But yeah, I would say that the majority of places that you get your medicine from are probably harvested in a ethical way.
That it is ethical. The majority is, or isn't?
I would say the majority, yes. This
yes. Okay.
Because if you're working, just say that, if you were working with this medicine and you just take, you do one ceremony with it, and you understand the importance of, okay, this medicine has to be collected in a good way. Like if the frog dies, like, we definitely can't use that medicine. The whole energetic signature thing really opens up to you.
Will you share your experience? I mean, you told me this yesterday, but I assume that you're going to feel comfortable talking about it. But you had a direct encounter with one of the toads that you were taking the medicine from. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that, or would that be okay?
No, I'm open book, but Yeah, I was working with it a few weeks ago. I think I was doing like 7 days in a row or something like that, where every day I would do a pretty large dose by myself. And I was just kind of seeing, I was kind of pushing the boundaries with it, like I do with any medicine, especially when I'm forming relationships with it or anything like that. I definitely, I want to see how far it can go. I want to see like what its capabilities of is. And, I would go in with a different intention every day. And one day I went in with the intention of just being in gratitude. Being in gratitude. I wanted to give gratitude back to the sanctuary where it came from, and the people that collected the medicine, this, that, and the other. And unknowingly, it took me past all that. And it took, I really almost had a vision of the toad that the medicine actually came from that I was using. And just had experience with that toad where I was very grateful for it. Um, and and it was very grateful back to me because I was helping it complete its mission in life. Its mission in life is really to supply this medicine for us to help heal. And without anyone using it, it's it's part of its process can't be completed. So the gratitude that was I was giving to the toad was given back to me, um that to the same amount, if not greater, just for taking part and trusting it, using it, and you know using it to better myself. So this definitely had some telepathic communications with the toad for sure. And yeah, I think that loop of gratitude is very powerful, especially when you come across something like this that's obviously, you know, a miracle of some type. It's and you have a overflowing of gratitude. Where do you send it? You send it back to its source.
That's so beautiful. I think that that's one of the things I was experiencing kind of in the dissipation when we were hanging out on your property was just this thing of like toads. They're like so common, right? Like these animals, it's not like something exotic. Like all of these things are not exotic, they're natural. And yet there's all this legislation for people to not take part in what's right in a hand's reach. And you really have to look at that agenda. I mean, from compassion, but you have to look at it and note that it's there, because that needs to be loved through. We need to love the fuck out of that. And so it's just no longer our reality anymore. There's some cute kids. So I'm going to just kind of, I want to talk about rape and the second dose that we went into. Is it fair to say that I had maybe stronger doses yesterday than normal, or was it about average, or what was it in terms
That's the
of
average.
average?
It's
Okay.
average. Actually, it's a little low. If you were
Okay.
come back next time, we'd probably go a little bit deeper with it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Um, yeah, because I want to, yeah, I just want to focus on what is the most important thing to focus in on right now. This whole thing with my dad is again, the crux of this. And working with Drew as a safe anchor was really important to have, because I went into really deep emotional states with this, and I was just, purging and crying as I was processing these levels and layers of emotion, which I've been working on over the last, however long, but this was like, massaging deeper. And I think it's important to know that, like, you have to be with somebody that's going to allow you to express themselves completely. And so that way you can have the experience. And yeah, I think a safe space is huge. And like Jason saying, him doing it on his own, the second round, it was scary. Like he had coaches with him. He had his people with him that were like, Jason, calm down. But you really want to make sure that you're called to do it, as opposed to just
Yeah.
messing around with it.
Yeah, it's a deep thing, and there's a lot of things that come out. And especially when we're raising our vibration to coming up to a source vibration, like we're really open ourselves up to, past lives, things like that. And where, there's expressions that come out. This when you ask if you could record the session yesterday. Yes, I don't normally allow people to record ceremonies, but with the Bufo of Arius, I have come to find out that it's more beneficial for someone to record it, because there's people speaking tongues a lot. There's different languages that come out. There's movements, mudras that come out, and there lots of times there are messages for the person in that ceremony, and it's their higher self that is saying, okay, I got a few milliseconds to show you what I need to show you, and here it is. And so that's why it's important. I found it's definitely beneficial for people to record their Bufo various states, because there is that window's small, but the information that comes out through it sometimes is, I can't, a lot of it I can't describe, afterwards, like what the words that you said, like you were speaking in some type of language yesterday, that I didn't recognize, and there's no way for
Right.
me to describe that to you unless you see it, yourself. And I'm assuming, over time that recording is going to make more sense to you.
Oh, well, I mean, I was in the experience, so like I knew when that was coming up. I thought I probably would, because I channel light language anyway. Like, and so I mean, it's like it's natural. It's really natural. It's one of our. It's just natural. So
Yeah.
I'm fluent in it, and so it was like, I don't know if it was the second hit or if we did the third one, but I know at a certain point I was like, I've got to look at the mountain. So I like looked at the mountain, and all of this energy. It was like all this earth energy just came through me. And in that moment, what I was doing, I was like, oh, this is me having boundaries. This is me having space. And this is me like just like this masculine energy coming through, just ripping through and claiming space. And it had to do again with this reflection to my dad. And it also had to do with you as like, you're the facilitator. Should I be listening to you and just doing what you tell me to do? Or do I need to take up my own space? Again, this relationship of like, how do I respect someone's authority and be my own authority? Like it was this thing, and it was like all of this energy coming through, and the realization that like what my dad couldn't give me was self-trust. I had to give myself self-trust. And it's like now that I'm able to trust myself, he can trust me too. But it was something that he couldn't give me, and it was this thing like he did his best with his like safety, is issues about safety and issues about being masculine. Like that was his way of loving me and trying to keep me from the harms of the world. But it was done in a way that was not healthy for me. But behind that was the love. And being in the ceremony and being with Drew, I'm just sort of reflecting all of this energy with like this mirror for my dad's energy, being like, yeah, he's an authority and I'm an authority. Respect is the language. It's just respect. It's not about me being rebellious. I'm not being rebellious by taking up my space. I'm doing what we should all do. And me younger being rebellious was me not respecting my dad. Like there was a difference. You know what I mean? You can be rebellious and respectful at the same time, I suppose. But in that context with my dad, it was like, I am so wounded by how you are in my life, in an unconscious kid way, right? That I'm showing up in these ways where you're the enemy, and and he's I've got the finger pointing. And of course you're going to do that as a kid. But at a certain point, you have to realize, like you said yesterday, Drew, a father's love never dies. Like your father always loves you. And that was like the gift of hanging out with the mountain, and the gift of hanging out with you was being able to see through and like, oh, I created a world that did not exist, where my dad didn't love me and my dad didn't see me or appreciate me. And that is not real. Like I just experience.
It's not even really possible. I can't speak for all fathers, but I think that pretty much the general rule behind fatherhood is like, it never goes away. Like, yeah, the first time you hold your child, the first, I was talking to my daughter, my oldest daughter, when she was out here, and she's feeling some type of way because of, I got another daughter coming. She's like, well, I'm not going to be daddy's girl anymore. I was like, well, she's 19 going on 20. And I'm like, you're always going to be daddy's girl. Like, yours always my first, yours always my firstborn. Like, and that's a bond that, you're never going to take away. And Ember's going to be a daddy's girl too, but that's not going to take away from your experience. That's that kids just don't really understand it. And even when we're older, like, I know you don't have kids and don't have that connection yet. So it's kind of hard for you to put yourself on the other side of it, but
I've got nieces and nephews who I just would
yeah,
throw myself in front of the bus for, you know.
yeah. And if it's your own, it's 100 times, it's even more than that, so you got a baseline on it. It just never goes away, and there's not a love to that. It doesn't matter how many kids you have, like I'm still popping out kids at 4, going on 43. It's still popping them out.
Stop that.
And the love is never, I don't have less because I have a new baby,
Well, it's an amplification though. It can only be more, right? Like your heart breaks open more with each child, I would think.
Yeah.
That's been my experience with this, last 4 months of this, my process is like, I'm only loving more. Like I'm only loving people more. There's only more love. And it's the wildest thing. And, this resistance to love is the crux of it all. There's resistance to love is the reason we have, we need plant medicine, or we have plant medicine and these other medicines, toad medicine, because there's got to be something stronger than the walls that we've created in our hearts and in our energy bodies and in our psyche. And to be able to work with medicine that cuts right through that and says, no, for this, however long, you're going to experience love. Like I can't untake away what I experienced yesterday. Like I can't, the wisdom that I found, the connection that I found, the clarity, that is, I may not be dwelling in that resonance all of the time, but I have witnessed it, I've experienced it, I've walked through it, and that has now imprinted on me and will go, be more of that going forward as opposed to the old me that's dying away.
Beautifully said. I like that.
Well, I have a question. So when it comes to having like a ceremony, or someone's experiencing this, how important, and I would assume it is pretty important, but how important is it for that person to have intention? You spoke about having intentions earlier, like when you're before you were, going to ingest or take. How important is it for someone to kind of set an intention of what they would like to experience? Because like a lot of psychedelics, you have to be in the right mind space, right, in order so everything's smooth. How important is someone to kind of set the intent of what they would like to experience or what they're wanting to work on? I know you can't say, well, I want to go to the moon, and then you have this visit to the moon, but it is still important to go in with a clear head and set intents, right?
Yeah. So there's a basic formula for psychedelic ceremonies or sacred ceremonies. What I don't like to call them psychedelic ceremonies, because then it brings up it brings up the hallucinations and things like that. And I just don't believe that anything's really a hallucination. I believe it's just a message or experience. But the basic formula, I would say, for all this is set and setting is important. Intention is paramount. And ultimately after the ceremony is integration. Those are the things that sometimes people overlook, especially the integration part of it. But the intention and the integration are deeply connected, because really you want to afterwards you want to talk about, did it accomplish like what I came to have it accomplish. So the intention is, if you're not setting intention, what the question I have, like, why are you here? Like, what do you want to do with this medicine? Why are you here just to have an experience? If you don't have intention, why are you just that tells me you're just here to have an experience, to check a box saying that you did this, that, and the other. That's the clientele that I don't deal with.
I was going to ask that, like, how do you deal with, because I would imagine that a lot of people are coming to have, some type of clarification, like CAT, or some type of next step in their spiritual, growth and evolution. But then you probably have people that are wanting to check the box, or just wanting to, let me try this. I saw it on Joe Rogan, let me go and do this. Like, how do you interact with that?
It goes back to my prayer too, like, this is, I've asked the universe not to send those people to me. Like, let those people go to somewhere else, let those people find another avenue to take part in the sacred ceremony if that's what they need to do. But my people that come here to work with me, like I know that they're coming here for deep reasons, because I've told the universe, I'm like, okay, my front gate out front, like, don't let anyone come through there that is not really gonna exploit these medicines for everything that they are, for themselves. Not exploit it for any other reasons, but to better themselves, you know. And because we all deserve to be freer, we all deserve to be happy, and if you understand that you're never going to die, if you understand that the time never stops, it's never stopped, if you understand that you're part of God and God is part of you, like, these are true sovereignty points that you cannot, you can read a million books, but until you have the experience, it's not going to be part of your being. And I would say that's our safeguard out here, is to ask the universe, to, oh, I want serious people to come here. I don't want tourists. I don't want medicine tourists or ceremony tourists or anything, whatever you want to call it. I want people that are coming to these medicines for the right reason, whether it be their first ceremony or 100th. I've had a lot of people come to me that's done, ayahuasca ceremonies with people down in Peru, down in other retreat centers in the US or all over the world. And, the experiences that they have with when they come to ceremony with us is just different, because we've been asked to share some deep knowledge, and with the help of these plant medicines and animal
That's,
medicines.
yeah. Did you have another question, Jason?
I think I'm good at the moment. I do have other
Oh.
questions, but I'm going to try to place them in correct moments.
All good.
That's always the trick with podcasting.
Well, I want to talk about rape, because that was something we did yesterday too, which I know isn't normal in a toad ceremony, but like my guidance was to do some, and it was so right for me. And I love rape. And at the same time, when I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do that now, because it's going to clear me out for the next round. In terms of just like, it's such a clear, it's an energizer. So, but even with that, I was like, oh fuck, I'm going to do rape. I was like, that thing again of like, I'm scared and yet I want to do it. So would you explain the benefit of that?
Yeah, the rape is a mixture, mostly tobacco, and the tobacco that's used is called mapacho. It's from South America, and each rape blend has different things in it. There's the base ingredient is a tobacco. Lots of times there's ash in there from a sacred fire. There mix ash in, and that carries the prayer from them making it. Tree roots and different additives in different blends, but the basis behind it, it's ground up tobacco, and it gets blown up your nair, up each nostril. So, and it drains, and it holds the spirit of Father Mapacho or Rape or Hape. Rape is spelled RAPE, so, but with a hyphen on the E, normally, but so I tend to more say Hape if I'm around people that don't, so there's no confusion what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's a ceremony. It's a part of a ceremony that's normally, it's part of almost all ceremonies, and it is part of, it can be part of the Bufo Various ceremony. It's not uncommon to use it in Bufo Various. I just tend not to use it because the Bufo really doesn't need any other additives to be added on with it. But in normal ceremonies like ayahuasca ceremony or San Pedro or something like that, or even North American ceremonies up here like peyote and things like that, they use tobacco, but they use it smoking to open up the ceremonies. And it's the same like with the rape. It's just instead of smoking it, it's blown into an air. But the tobacco spirit is kind of like the gatekeeper for these ceremonies. And especially with ayahuasca, San Pedro, and things like that, the tobacco spirit will open the door and allow the other medicine. He's kind of holds the door. It's a masculine spirit, and holds protection over the ceremony, and also protection over the door, the portal of the ceremony.
Well, no, this makes sense because it was for the Arape. I did the Arape, again, like it was very masculine, like it's like spitting, like it's very like guttural, like you're just spitting and you're cleansing and clearing. And then the next round is when that masculine, like earth energy came through and was just like, claim your space, claim your space. And so it makes sense that was the precursor, and that was a guidance thing. So that makes absolute sense. Yeah, I think that I would love to connect you, share Paul Hutchinson's video that we did, our talk with him, because he's somebody he uses Rape with breath work as a way to go into deep meditation and connect with spirit or source. And so I think that, again, bringing these things out here and educating people on them, like follow your guidance. Like what I did wasn't within like normal parameters, but like if your guidance is saying to do that, like, don't you think it's true that we all kind of create our own ceremonies? At a certain point, you follow your own rhythm and you build ceremonies out of your own natural genealogical expression, how it wants to show up, and it reveals itself to you. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. We're all shamans. We're all medicine people. We're all deep down. We're all medicine men. We're all, and get down all the way to the core of it. We're all source. We're all walking around as source, but in this illusion that we're these separate beings to have this experience. So our consciousness can raise, and then collectively the source's consciousness can raise, like through our each and every one of our daily experiences.
And that's why I want to encourage people to, like play with your crystals, play with sage, play with, like, what does it feel like you want to do in order to invoke energy or clear energy or connect with energy? Dowsing rods, again, another huge thing they've become attunement rods for me, where, I get in trouble for relying on them too much. Like yesterday, they got me, like they'll play little tricks on me, and they're like, why are you relying on the rods more than your intuition? Why? Like you can feel the land and energy through your body. You can feel it. Why are you trying to? It's like the rods are a tool, and I'm grateful and they're important, and I'm not throwing them away. Like they're an important aspect or asset to what I'm doing. But they even point me back to saying, feel it through your body first and extend it through the rods. Like they want me to take ownership. My celestials want me to take ownership and not be passive, right? Again, this masculine energy of owning your space, which for me, that takes us back out to, your land, where when we were stepping back outside and you took me outside just to connect with the mountain energy, the land was like, the rods would have been like helicoptering out of my hands because the energy is so intense. Like it was just rushing from the mountain up through my legs and out into other things. And I could feel vortexes energetically through the land, and it's like, and I could use rods to point at me to that, but like we also are rods. Like Angela Anderson's a great example. She's somebody who her body became the pendulum. Like this is accessible to us.
Yeah, there's definitely times. If you ever been in meditation, have you ever felt yourself starting to swirl? So you're you're becoming a pendulum, like literally, because all the pendulum does is show you the energy that's coming from either object or whatever, and I in my in-person conferences and things like that, where I do the in-person talks, I show this exercise where I take a pendulum or have a lighter or have a pendulum there, and I have a lighter on the table, a pendulum over top of it. And you can talk about the lighter either being a piece of plastic, has propane in it, has a piece of flint, metal, this, that, and the other. It's made in a factory in Wisconsin, is packed by a guy named Frank, or whatever. And watch the pendulum, what it does over that lighter. Or you can talk about the lighter. Okay, it lights this lighter lights sage, it lights Palo Santo, it lights tobacco, it lights Changa, like whatever. Since there's only one flame, and since it's producing a flame, it's a representation of the central fire. And hold the pendulum over it as you're talking about like that, and watch what happens. It'll show you how powerful your words actually are. And then you could take it a step further and not speak them verbally and think it, think negative thoughts, or, just, think about the lighter as a 3D object, or you can just thinking about how it could be sacred, and watch then, and watch how powerful it is. It's not even your words. Your thoughts are so powerful they can affect the energy coming off an object. And that's the pendulum can show you that, the dowsing rods can show you that, the tarot cards can show you that. It can show you that connection, that energy. But really it's showing you, just like we are in the illusion of separateness and going through this illusion, even when we're trying to work on our oneness, we still use separateness, to get to that goal, and that's when I was telling you, when you pulled out the dowsing rods when you got here, I was like, the whole message behind the bufo is to put the dowsing rods away, is because you don't need that shit.
Well,
It's good steps.
for me, but for me, it's not black or white. Like, it's like, to me, because I am, telepathic with my people, and I do talk to them, and we have conversations, and there are certain times where it's like I use the rods as amplification. Like,
Yeah.
you could say the same thing with cannabis. Like, you don't need that shit. Well, I use it as a tool for amplification. Like, like anything used within its purpose is great. If you're using it as a crutch, then, or medication, or because you don't trust yourself, then that's where the lesson comes in. And and they get me on that, and it's an ongoing process, because again, this whole thing with my father was like, you can't trust yourself until you get his approval. And it's like, he's only going to approve of you when you trust yourself. It was this catch-22. And so I had created this whole narrative about, what my father's relationship was to me. And we were standing there looking at the mountain, and I was like, Drew, I don't even think that's real. Like, this whole thing that I built up about my dad, it's not even real. I've reacted my entire life based on something that is not even true. Just like going to Blanca and at the wrong time, just like thinking, Bufu was going to be Campo. These are things that I had constructed that weren't real. And it's just like, the message is like, only love is real. Fear isn't real. Disconnection isn't real. And again, coming back to that thing where, when you're in the essence of that, the vibrations of that, fear it just doesn't exist there. It doesn't have a footing, because it isn't real. So it's like, in that space you can see what's real and what's not real.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing, man. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a beautiful thing. I'm in awe of this medicine, all the medicines I work with, really, but definitely Bufo, I'm in awe of it, things that's done, and how fast the intention does come back. Like, I was telling you about how important it is for the Bufo to take an intention and, like, work on that thing in the quantum field, and watch how fast it moves in the physical. But taking that clear intention into the quantum, and knowing what is gonna be on your mind when you're over there, because you don't really have to think about it too much. There's not that much work. You just have to have it on your mind in the quantum, and it will unfold in the physical in no time. Like, I've seen it so many times.
That is beautiful. Then that's good news for my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my family, because that was what was saturated. Jason, do you have any thoughts or questions at this juncture?
Well, I mean, I kind of have a question for you, Kat. Look, I'm kind of wanting to know, like, well, you don't have to go into super detail, but like, what was the experience outside of these emotional, like flashes of, oh, this is what this is. This is what this is. Like, what did you see? Like that's what I want. Like, what was the experience like for you on a physical or visual level?
It wasn't visual for me. I mean, that was the thing. It's like, I'm an empath, I think, probably first and foremost. So everything was feeling the energy of the mountain, feeling the energy of just the truth, the energy of oneness. It was really empathic.
it left him speechless.
Yeah, I know. We're frozen. How long does an experience
it's like
last?
I get like, yeah, I thought I was going to be like visual.
Kat, if you can hear us, you're going in and out.
It's short. It's very short, but it's there's a lot happens in that. The visual state, this is 5 MEO dimethyltryptamine.
Mhm.
You smoked the 4NN dimethyltryptamine?
I have no idea.
Okay. So you smoked it out of a vape or something?
Yeah, out of a pipe.
Okay, so it's like regular DMT. This is highly visual,
Right.
and it's more dealing with the vibration of our bodies. 5-MeO dimethyltryptamine. That's it's more, you're more matching the vibration of the universe. So when you get to that point, there's the visuals kind of stop, and it's more of a feeling. It's definitely more of a feeling, and
So
knowings.
as a, not to interrupt you, but for my mind to kind of break this down, it would almost be, and I hate to use this as a reference, don't judge me, but it would almost be like taking ecstasy versus taking LSD. Like one is more potent with the visual aspect, and one is more potent with the feeling aspect.
That would be, I'm not really well versed in either one of those. Like I've done some of that stuff when I was a kid and stuff, teenager and things like that, non-ceremonially, but that would be a correct assumption. The ayahuasca works with 4-NN dimethyltryptamine, and
Okay.
that's the more visual one. That's what's contained in ayahuasca, like, and that's the DMT that we make, our bodies that we make, and we store and we release it at a time of passing, and it helps with crossover. Like it helps with our anxiety and everything when we cross over. But yeah, the bufo is a totally different DMT than that. It's you might hear ringing in your ears and things like that when the onset comes on, but the visual states are more, not full on visions, but you have like knowings, like when I had the vision of the toad. I didn't necessarily see the toad, but I could feel myself in the presence of
Right.
the actual toad. I knew that it was right beside me, and I could feel it. I could almost hear its heartbeat, hear its licking its lips, things like that. As far as seeing it visually, that's those are normally few and far between with the bufo, just because the vibration, it vibrates you so fast, it takes you right past that window where you could see other realms. The DMT and ayahuasca, things like that, those are much more visual. It's very, very colorful, very visual. And you might see anacondas, digital anacondas, and uh psychedelic looking birds and things like that. Those are the visions, like with the other DMT. But this DMT is more just a knowing, clarity, and connection to source. Kat, are you still alive?
I think he was for a moment.
Oh,
Now,
man.
can you?
You're coming in
Froze
like
again.
static. Yeah.
I was.
You're coming in broken and incoherent.
It's like a robot singing in another language.
I don't know how much more he wanted to go with this, but
yeah, I figure he'll send a message or something.
yeah.
How long does a ceremony last?
Short. It's the complete thing is about an hour, but when you smoke smoked medicine, and in the States, normally, about 15-20 minutes at the most. It's but you really don't need, people talk about people doing studies on extended DMT states where people have like drip,
right, for hours.
For hours and stuff. And it's I couldn't imagine being in that state like that, because it's really showing you like there's what you're escaping. There's no need to escape it. It's actually
Right.
you're living in what you want to live in. It's just your mind is telling you that it's anything different. So the bufo shows you a lot of like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is how things are supposed to be. This is enjoy your life, like enjoy the breaths and things like that. Don't try to escape it. So
it's kind of bringing you back to like a reset, like the center, the factory version, like what should have been, without it strips away all the bullshit that we collect as we grow, right, and we experience.
Yeah, just it definitely reminds you. It reminds you of who you are. It reminds you of that source connection that a lot of us haven't felt in this lifetime. And just to have one moment of that to remind you of it, it's super powerful, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, in 2018, I had this spontaneously happen to me without any medicine. I went to the throne room. I gave up my body. I was going to become source. I became source. And that's when I realized about, that's when my first book come from. The I'm Perfect and So Are You. It's just breaking down the truth of divinity and how everything is truth, how everything is perfect, and our perception is the only thing that dictates anything different. But in all actuality, it's all divinity, and every single moment is perfect. And that's the biggest thing that I took back, brung back from the throne room from my experience in 2018. And then when I seen that Bufo could help people have that same experience of going to the throne room, or whatever you want to call it. You could call a million different things, but just melding back into the universe. And then when they come back in their body, like had a cat outside yesterday, I was like, just look at all that, man. Like, look at all the mountains. Like, look at all the clouds. Look at everything in the sky. Just think that this is all you, and it's me too. It's all of us. Where there's actually no separation between anything that you're seeing right now. And when you come out of the Bufo, and then that's why it's so amazing that we have this property and allow that we have these surroundings. The beautiful mountain views is so powerful when you come out of it, because you just got hit with another dose of this is all me, and I'm all it, and there's no separation. And then seeing it's like, holy shit, like that's the basis behind this medicine, really, what it does for you.
Cat,
I'm
you
gonna
back?
hop in, hoping I can.
Yeah.
I'm trying, girl. I'm trying so hard to be back. I think yeah, it's unstable again. Oh my god. Okay. Am I here? I'm here. Jeez.
I don't think you're here. I think you're there.
Bless it. And I don't know if it's still, when the recording stops, does it still play? Is it still playing live on
I'm not sure.
Facebook?
I don't.
Okay. Girls, am I back?
There you are.
Okay. So, Drew, would you tell us about your land, what's happening on your land, and the current projects going on there? And then we're wrap up like in 30 minutes just because of this internet connection is going to make me really grow some patience today. I can't control everything. That's the other big lesson is you can't control everything.
Yeah, there's some things I can't talk about. The plans are going on here, but definitely a lot of construction by the end of this year. There's a lot of growth happening this year. So by the end of this year, we definitely plan on being to a point where we can offer ceremonies year round. Right now we're kind of barred from the environment and everything out here, but definitely have some ceremony building, a temple that's in the process of start construction soon, some upgrades to our horse facility, and just basically upgrades all around. A lot of construction, a lot of plans happening here, and there's tons that I would love to talk about but can't right now.
Man, can you hear me?
I
Yep.
can.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. So and that's awesome. I mean, I know what some of them are, and I just want to say there's are you open to collaboration in the things that you're doing, Mr. Man? If people want to reach out and talk to you directly, are you open to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, we're open to all levels of involvement. We're talking to some investors up in Chicago we're talking about expanding this even more, Sacred Journeys Within. We have another location that we're working out of and going to be doing summer retreats in Arkansas with our friend that's a chiropractor. So come to some of those retreats and you get chiropractic adjustments along with ceremonies and things like that. We have some corporate retreats that are coming up. So we've been contacted by a couple corporate entities that want to bring their people out here and their leaders of their company and do ceremony like that. So that's really that's my overall goal, is really because I know these ceremonies in these ways can uh really affect how people operate, and especially if they're owning businesses or at the top of businesses. That trickle down effect can really help out a lot of people. If I can just get a few people in ceremony, if I can get the top people in these companies, it can really affect their downstream. So I put that prayer out a year or two ago, and it's really starting to come to fruition, where it's more and more people are coming under that guise. So instead of me affecting one or two people, I can affect 500, 1,000 people. If I can affect the top of those people's downstream, then I could affect all those people. And that's really my focus right now. And so
Well, I want to hop in real quick because Eric Unger, former guest of Third Eye Salon, asks you to define or to explain what is the throne room. When you say the throne,
the throne room is going to source and giving the one going and being Godhead, whatever whatever label you want to put on it. There's many samadhi, or whatever, the oneness state. And I call it the throne room because I in my mind at that time, I was literally taking over the spot of source, and there was a vacancy when I got there in 2018. There was nobody there, and I soon realized why there was nobody there in that throne room or oneness in that space, because we're all the particles are here having experience in the realm.
wow, that is huge. That's just huge that all the particles are here it's empty because we're here because God's here. Like that's just like the biggest, deepest. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's and it was boring. There's
Exactly, right, right.
I literally just looked at all of creation as like, okay, all the wars was being, all the wars and killings, and even, you know, the nastiness of our, of our humanity, people doing, hellacious shit that most people would never even think of. It's all part of a grand design, and it's all balanced out. All the horrible shit's balanced out between all the love and and gratitude and all the higher vibrations. It's all just a steady hum. And that's what I realized in that moment in 2018. And uh the bufo is the closest thing that I've found that can bring someone to that state uh pretty much every time without fail.
That is gorgeous. That's a great through line for the medicine. And I also wanted to talk to you about your beautiful wife Ella and your newborn. And it was quite a journey to get him here. I was so excited to see him, and then the first thing that
Too excited.
happens,
You're too
I was
excited.
too excited to see him because he just gets up from a nap. Mama puts him in, the pen, and and Drew's like visually, cueing me to look at him. I look over, I'm like, oh, it's him, and my energy just goes boom. And then he just like, like, like the first thing I do is I make the baby cry that I've been in love with for the last year. So tell us the journey of bringing Hawk onto the planet. I know that was such a journey, an ordeal. Whoa.
Well, the end of let's see, he was born at the beginning of 2022. Yeah. So 2021, at the end of 2021, we lost my brother-in-law. So Ella's brother, right before Christmas, and had to run off to Ohio, handle all that, be with family, and put him to rest on New Year's Day of 2021. So fast forward to January 10th of 2022, I was up here doing a podcast right here on the Jess Rogie show, and our bathroom's underneath. This is second floor, and our bathroom's underneath on the first floor. And I heard my wife down there moaning everything. I come down, I told Jess I had to quit. I had to leave early and talk to her later. Went downstairs and checked on Ella, and went down, and she was obviously in, having really heavy contractions. And I've been up here for over 2 hours, so I didn't even know that I didn't know that it was anything like that. This all started when I was during the podcast, and immediately told her, I was like, let's go to the hospital, get checked out. We get in the vehicle, we get in the car, head towards the hospital. Is at night, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And she's just having extreme contractions. She's only 28 weeks. She's only like 7 months along. I got, 3 months early, and we're driving, and I see this meteorite comet, something going in the field, off in the field a ways, but it's traveling like horizontal with the land, and it's going towards the town where the hospital's at in Alamosa, and so going in line with us towards the hospital. And I look over Ella. Everything was like slowed down at that point. I like looked over Ella, and she was in between contractions. I was like, "Do you see that?" And she's like, "Holy shit!" It's so crazy. It was like changing colors: purple, orange, green, and back to different colors. But it was not going out, so it's just kind of like flashing these colors as it was going along. And I just knew that something was going to happen. And there had been so much death in our family at that point. And I was like, I'm like, oh my God, the universe is trying to get me prepared because I'm about to lose my son. That's kind of what was in my head. I knew something was going to happen at the hospital. I knew it wasn't just going to be going there for a checkup and go home an hour later. Something was definitely going to happen, especially, with everything that, the whole scene. And we got there, and yeah, they told us that the baby was coming, about to have a C-section. I was like, when? They're like, within the next 10 minutes. And I was like, wow. And yeah, that started for the next 9 weeks, we were in the hospital. Hawk was born at just over 2 pounds. He was 13 inches long, 2 pounds. You seen the diaper yesterday. His first diaper was tiny. And
Yeah, it's like the size of like 2 fingers. It's like that's how big his diaper was. It's just
it's tiny.
Yeah.
And yeah, they flew him to Colorado Springs, and we met him up there shortly after. I think that evening we finally got up there from the hospital here, and we spent the next 9 weeks in the hospital with Hawk, basically living there with him, and in the hospital every day, and watch him grow and get stronger and stronger. And now he's just he's halfway annoying at times because he's that toddler phase, and he's just into everything. But it's just, I joke around about it, but he's an amazing kid. He just really is. And the journey for him to be here is just such a spiritual journey for me. Definitely a lot of healing. I had 2 older kids, and definitely estranged from them for a long time. So Hawk was got me through a lot of times, and showed me that I was worthy of love from a child. I was worthy to be a father again. And and now my relationships with my other kids is on the mend and everything. So it's, I couldn't ask for a happier life, really. And Ember's on the way. She'll be here in June. So Ember Alamino, which means the ember to illuminate. So that's Ember's name.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, if you're go ahead and friend Drew Bankey on Facebook just so you can look at his kids. Because Hawk, he's just got this luminescent light in his picture, in his eyes. And it was interesting because after you had like picked him up and you were like patting him and he was calming down, and I was talking to him, and I said to him at the end, I said, I get it. You're the man. This is your space. I need to respect your space. And he turned over and he gave me a little smile. It could have been gas, but I think he gave me a little smile like, you get me. You get me. So he's just like, he's his own little man though, isn't he? Like he's his little man. I can feel it.
Yeah, he's very opinionated. He's got his own sense of humor that is just so amazing. And yeah, he's just, I don't know. He's one of the love of my life, for sure. He's one of the best things I've ever done in life. So
yeah, absolutely. He's a pure beam of sunshine. And and so Ember and Hawk are going to be growing up on this land that's all vortex and all of this magnificent energy. And I just think about how that impacts and influences everything. Like they came in pure, and then they're in this land that like just resonates this energy. Like how much support would that be for kids to be able to grow up in a community like that, where the land of the energy of the land and the energy of the community is all taken into account, and people are acting cooperatively, still individuated people, but acting cooperatively for love, for oneness, for authenticity.
Yeah. All my kids are connected like that. Even my oldest daughter that I haven't spent a lot of time with, and haven't talked in years, up until just recently, and to see where she's at spiritually, her mindset, how mature she is, just everything about her, how much she's like me, and how her ideas about things are just so more advanced than the normal child. And it's so interesting to see it, how just the genetics alone can hold those codes, and the and how close a person can, it's a dream come true for me, to have kids like this. And I first did ayahuasca when I was 36, and I'm 43 now, and to see where my progression is just in a short time from when I first started drinking ayahuasca until now is profound. And to think about Hawk being, you know, brought up in the, he's already witnessed and took part in ceremonies. And he's been, you know, he's always right there. He's around me when I'm speaking all the time, singing, practicing my songs for ceremonies and things like that. And he's always curious about what's in Papa's, you know, special wicker box. You know, I got a wicker box with all my ceremony stuff in it. And he's always, you know, he's always wants to know what's in it. And I can just feel like this desire of like, okay, this is my replacement. I'm training my replacements. You know, Hawk, Sienna, Ember, Gage, Alyssa, they're all my replacements. And these are all my, you know, my kids. And it's, I know that they're going to be so much more powerful than I could ever imagine.
That's beautiful. Mr. Jason, do you have any thoughts or questions before we wrap up here?
Like, my thought really is just like, how cool would, you know, like how cool to come from a family, you know,
right?
That is, because there's so many of us growing up, depending on, it may be based off where we live or who we live with, that aren't allowed that freedom. If it's not in this box, right, then it's bad. It's the devil. So being able from the start to not ever even have those boundaries set for you, right? Like anything is possible, like expect the unexpected, right? I just think that's awesome for kids coming in, especially kids that seem to be so connected. Like I don't ever see them not coming and sharing something or an experience, or so having them kind of like, you're creating. And so this is another little thing that just was like, ooh, it's like, now I feel like my brain's just getting lodged. We talk about light workers, right? And a lot of times when we talk about light workers, we're talking about, people that are connecting to spirit, or people that are connecting to these energies. But this type of work is also light work, right? Like they're spreading the gospel, so to speak, or they will be spreading the gospel, so to speak, of what these animals and what these plants can really do to help the evolution of the planet.
Oh yeah. You know, I think, and this may be creating some, definitely a conversation in a lot of people, but I think titles and everything get overused, you know, because if you're saying, if people are saying, okay, I'm a light worker, I've incarnated and I'm here to do this, that, and the other, they're putting themselves in some type of hierarchy, which there is no hierarchy, you know. And when you get down to it, everybody's a light worker, everybody's a priest, everybody's a shaman, everybody's all of this, you know. There is no, and that's, I think it's part of the process when someone comes out and says that, okay, they're this, that, and the other, they're trying to bring self-worth to themselves by having this special title, when you don't need a special title to have self-worth. Just know that you're part of source. That's all the title that you need to find the unimaginable level of self-worth that is in it. If you label, you know, all these different labels that people have, you know, it's I think it speaks a big volume to their still on their healing process, you know, because maybe they are light workers, but does that, if you calling yourself a light worker, that means that someone else is not, you know. And that's not the name of the game. The hierarchy and a hierarchy system is not the name of the game here.
I think there is a value in terms of being able to own your abilities and own who you are publicly. I know with me, like being able to publicly say I'm psychic is about my healing. Being able to say I'm a celestial medium is part of my healing, because it's me saying yes to myself as opposed to hiding it, being like, oh, that's weird. People don't need to hear that. It doesn't matter anyway. Like, no, it does matter, because it's part of me acknowledging who I am. And when, but, dear Linda, who's not here today, which I'll talk about that in a minute, but, it took me 10 years pulling her out of the closet to say that the psychic closet, so she could say she was a psychic, and she could say she knows she has all these abilities. And once she did that, like, her life got better because she stopped denying these aspects of herself. So it's, don't get attached to it, but certainly give yourself the privilege of honoring who you are and accepting the name. I mean, the name Blue Thunder Man, that's an honor to carry that name. And that's not something that you're like, yeah, well, I'm Blue Thunder Man, so I don't think so. Like, no, you don't do that with it, but like, you own the title because it is something that was given to you as an acknowledgement judgment of who you are.
True.
You
I can definitely see that for sure. But you know, I don't really use that title or anything. You know, I don't really use any of that title anymore. You know, it's just,
Right.
it's definitely part of my path, you know, and like I said, I wasn't bringing that up to point fingers or, you know, I know that it's got to make certain people, I know there's certain people listening that's going to make them feel some type of way, but what I'm saying is not, it's not so much it's wrong to do that or anything. I just don't, I feel that no titles at all, and just being like, you know, I'm Drew, and that's about all I really resonate with anymore. And I'm a father, you know, things like that. But there's a lot of titles that people's given me, but I think it doesn't really feel right for me to even say them anymore, because it's like, you know, it has this vibe of hierarchy, you know, and that's my main point. You know, it's not the titles or anything. It's not to get caught up in the hierarchy that, you know, um you know, I laugh when people say, oh, this is my last incarnation here, or this is the last time, this is my last life here on this earth, or this, that, and the other. Oh, I don't think so. You know, I think you're gonna have a rude awakening. I think it's just gonna keep going. You know, I don't think that anyone's here for any specific meaning, reason or anything. I think we're all here for the same reason. You know, I think we're all at the same level of, you know, wizardry. And we all can do whatever we want in this lifetime if we allow ourselves to not write that story of, okay, this is going to be a certain way, and this is going to go this way or that way, and allow just to whatever happens in every moment, and see how crazy it can get, see how beautiful it can get, see how magical it can be. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot more possibilities in this realm than most people can even wrap their head around.
Yeah, I hear to that, brother. Mr. Jason, do you have any final questions before we start wrapping up?
I think I'm good.
You're good. All right. Well, Drew, from your heart to our heart, what is your final message from your gorgeous, beautiful heart and the journey that you are expressing into the world? What do you express to the journeys that are showing up today to connect with you?
Trust and surrender. Trust and surrender to the process in every moment. You know, that's been our mantra for years now. It's we say it before it comes up in every ceremony. Every time someone comes up, it's trust and surrender is the theme, is the mantra, not only for us for Sacred Journeys Within, but trust and surrender is a very powerful mantra to have just in life in general. You know, trust and surrender to the process, trust and surrender to yourself, you know, not to outside source. You don't have to trust and surrender and, you know, become abducted or something like that by some weirdo and put you in a basement. But trust and surrender to the process, like trust and surrender to life. Allow yourself to laugh, allow yourself to love. Gratitude, you know, gratitude is a huge part of the formula of manifestation. Gratitude and being in the moment, I believe, is the two things that you need for manifestation, the two bases. And you know, gratitude and joy is a higher vibration than love. So you know, be in gratitude, even for something that may not have come yet, or be in gratitude for, you know, starting off with your mother and your father, your portal that allowed you come into this life. Be in gratitude for them and work your way out from there, and ultimately be in gratitude for for yourself. You know, your universe starts in your heart chakra, and it goes out from there, and it exudes out. So that's the work. Go inside first. You know, people don't do one ayahuasca ceremony or take a couple of grams of mushrooms and then turn around and try to start helping people, because you're only in turn hurting those people. You need to really clarify and cleanse yourself first before you ever start thinking about passing this on to anyone else. So
Well said.
be compassionate with yourself, you know. this life is a process. We're going through an amazing time right now in humanity. And if you allow yourself to view it like that, it will be that, or it can be, you know, I got family that's not so connected, but they ask me, especially with all these UFOs getting shot down over the past couple of weeks and all this stuff, they're like, should I be prepared for the end of the world? I said, no, you should be prepared for the beginning of the new world.
Amen. Oh my God, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, thank you, sir. I think that was really well said. Yeah, the biggest trip you're ever going to take is your own life. Like, the more you say yes to yourself, the more life will like say yes to you, and the more you're like, really, you love me that much? You give me that much? And like, that's what I've experienced. Is it's this love affair that I'm learning how to feel worthy for, because all this love is pouring out to me, and it's like, would you stop fighting and resisting the love? Again, brings us back to Bufo, where why would you do that? There's no, you just surrender to it and you get to be in it. So yeah. Amen to that, sir.
I guess the big question right now in people's heads is what you got to ask yourself: what would life be like without duality? What if we had no duality to push against? What if it was just all bliss? Ask yourself how you would react, and would you be able to accept that? And I think that's what we're moving into. I think we're moving away from. I think we're moving out of this duality lesson. We've been in it for hundreds, thousands of years. We've been going back and forth with this duality lesson in every single moment. I think we're coming to the end of it. Like, what would it be like to not have duality as your baseline anymore?
Exactly.
I think that's what we're moving into.
Yep, I'm in alignment with that. That it's like you still have individuation, but it's not rooted in duality. It's different. It's rooted in community. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get us wrapping up here. And as you've noticed, Linda is not with us today. And so if you are in our Facebook group, you know that Linda's husband passed. Chris, he passed this week. Something that they were waiting for. He was, being taken care of at home, but they knew it was just a short amount of time. And so he's crossed over. And so I just want to celebrate him in this show. He would love to have a conversation about hallucinogenics, but psychedelics, about altered states. I think that's something he would be down for. So I just want to honor him in the show, send him love in the show, and of course wrapping Linda in all kinds of love as she goes through so many emotions with the releasing process and the rebirthing process that she's in. So we just love you, Linda. Thank you for being part of Third Eye Salon. And I'm sorry the conversations in the chat room were not as interesting today, because she's the one who just carries that energy through. So we miss you, we love you, but we are supporting you radically 100%. And with that, I'm going to flip us into Brady Bunch view, and we'll do our little closeout here. So thank you everyone who has shown up today in the live stream. Please do share it out. And just, be a part of the community, show up and engage, because this is just spreading out. The love is spreading out. So find a home with us if that feels right for you. We'd love to connect with you more. And thank you, Mr. Jason, for being here. Of course, I just appreciate you so much for especially co-hosting when I kept fading in and out of reality, going to alternate dimensions on the internet today. So on the interwebs. So yeah, and of course, thank you, Drew. We should have Drew's links down below. If not, I'll double check after the show, make sure they're there. It should be there. And then next week it's going to be Elsa Dillon of the Spin Beings, and I had the most incredible conversation with her last week. There was just a synergy, and she connected into the Toad energy right away. We'll talk about that when we see Elsa, but she's connected. She's operating in the flow of the oneness, and that's just who she is and how her family shows up. And it's amazing. These stories are going to be so inspiring and ideally so healing for all of us. And with that, that is all we got. We love you so much. Thanks all so much for being here. We appreciate you. We value you. Be oh so kind to yourself and be kind to others. And we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.